Okay, this is the video for Honors Pre-Calc for today. It's very short because we took the test on Chapter 1 today, but I want to show you where the lab is. The lab in my class is going to be due on Tuesday. The lab is about making a Venn diagram. So in the top of the labs folder, you'll see this thing called Venn Diagram Lab. I'm going to pull up the one that's PDF because that's the one you would use. And it describes in here about how you're going to make a real-life Venn diagram. And this format for all labs kind of talks through all the things you need to have in your lab. You need to write up what the purpose of the lab is, which it says right at the beginning here. I just want you to say it in your own words. I don't want you to just take a snip of this and put it in there. And just to summarize the lab real quick, you want to ask some friends real life questions, and I would recommend 3. You can have just 2 questions if you want to have 2 circles. But like, maybe, do they like carrots, do they like Chinese food, and do they like dogs? To see if they're kind of like you. Maybe you like all of those. All right, and then you see where they fall on the Venn diagram. Okay, then, it's not just that. You do have to then get to kind of some results, some questions you could have asked, like, how many of my friends like dogs and Chinese food, or whatever. So you make up some questions about your Venn diagram. It's a super simple lab, mostly to kind of get you used to the idea of a lab. And if I was going to give you any advice on this lab thing, just make sure that you've done all the parts. You need to write up what the purpose is, or you'll lose a couple points. You need to have a sketch, which in this case is the Venn diagram. The procedure is what you say in words, like what you did. The calculations is where you actually show how you calculated the answers to your questions. And conclusion, just of course, state what your conclusion was. What did your Venn diagram show? And also it says 3 math-centered things that you learned. If you don't list 3 things that you learned, then you don't get all those points. Again, this is due on Tuesday of next week, so you have plenty of time to get the weekend to look at it. And you could curse yourself to having to do it all Monday night if you want to, but if I were you, I'd start this over the weekend. That way you could ask me questions about it in class. All right, so that's one of the things that's due soon after the weekend. And one more thing is you need to take a top 20. So remember that that's at algebraninja.com. If you go and type Algebra Ninja up here, and I'll remind you where the top 20s are. At algebraninja.com, you go under ACT Prep, top 20. I would do a practice one because the top 20 is happening again on Monday. And that's all I have for you for today. Do you have a question? Does somebody still have a question? Is it about the lab or?
Yes, we have 4.
Yes, if you want to have a really complicated Venn diagram, I'm totally cool with that. The least you have to have is 2 circles. 3 is better. 4 is optional. Yes? Never said how many friends, but if you only ask 3 people, you're not going to get very good results. And I don't need you to ask tons of people. Okay, so I would say just generally in the range of at least 5 people ought to be asked. And it doesn't have to be your friends. It could be, I asked, if you have a big family, ask everybody in your family, whatever. Add some family and friends. I do want real humans answering this question for the lab. All right, so if I were you, I would start your lab and I would get a top 20 done for practice over the weekend, because I need to see growth on that. If you're not getting better on the top 20, then you have to question whether or not this class is going to be too hard for you. Because you've had time to fix it, and if you haven't, I'm not saying you should get an A. I don't mean fix it like you should be perfect by now. But if you only knew 3 things and now you only know 4, that means it's probably just too hard of a class for you. So hopefully you're making progress on the top 20. All right, that's all I got for you for today.